Hello survivors and welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be looking at 6-star Konrad, who is the most recently released promo character, and we're going to see how useful he is and where he is useful. Now on the face of it, he is basically a mix between 6-star Alpha, who is a tough character, and 6-star Dwight, who is a tough character, and he takes the best things from both of these characters. First off, we're going to look at his stats. He's got a lot of damage, 1,947. Not the highest for a damage dealer, but it's high enough. His defense is extremely low, so he's going to take massive hits. But if you are used to the terminology, he is basically a glass cannon. You want him to get his rush as quickly as possible. He's going to blast his rush off. If he gets his rush off once in a raid, you should win that on an attack team because it's very strong. His HP is pretty high, so he's going to have a little bit of defense in there in terms of he's going to have a little bit of survivability, but he's mainly there as an attacking toon. Now we'll look at his adrenaline rush first, and this is the half that he gets from Dwight, as he deals 2 attacks of 300% damage and 600% total to one enemy. Up to 3 teammates get 60 crit and 60 defense for 2 turns. So he actually buffs some defense on some characters and some crit, which is kind of nice. But mainly once he's got off this rush, he's kind of not useless, but he's expendable at that point. You want him to get his rush up. You maybe want to have toons in there that can make him survive a little bit longer if you've got a Guardian 2 shield or something on attack. And then once he's got his rush off, you're fairly happy. Command will be very important to get his rush off a turn early. His active skill is called Crit Up and AP Gain, and he gets 30 crit for 2 turns and gains 30% AP to self. So what you can do, just due to the fact that he's got 76 AP on his rush, you can attack for the first turn, attack for the second turn, and on the third turn you can use the active skill to gain 30% of his AP. He gets 30 crit as well, and then you can command him because he will have his rush. So on his third turn you can command him after using the active skill. He'll have 30 more crit, which makes it so that he'll have more chance of critting his rush. Because of course with these 2 separate attacks with 300%, they can actually crit. And this is where it comes in quite important with the sort of the merge with the Alpha, is that Alpha has this specialist skill as well. And the specialist skill is when this character performs a critical attack on an enemy, they will deal splash damage, 100% damage attack, to up to 3 adjacent enemies. And that can be really, really powerful. And it works with his rush. So he can, on each of those separate 2 attacks, if they crit, he'll also do collateral damage with those rush attacks. And that's going to result in massive damage. But there's more, because the weapon he could 100% definitely use anyway, because he's tough. You could craft this in the armory where you have double attack, but he already has double attack, and it's actually an improved double attack over the one you can craft in the armory. The one in the armory is when attacking, a better chance to make a second attack with 150% attack. This one is 200% attack. So already he's going to have a stronger weapon than you could even craft. It's got 30% base attack on it as well. It does have a bit of crit on it. You would want to get AP on attack if you're going to take him on an attack team. Unless you can get a range leader with AP on attack, you can maybe sacrifice that and get crit. But you're going to want to build up that AP just so you can get a 3rd turn command rush. It's very important to get his rush off as quickly as possible. And because he's got double attack on his weapon, if you have got Dwight, you know how that works. With those 2 separate attacks on his rush, he can double attack each of those. So effectively he can do 4 attacks with his rush, and each of the 4 attacks can all collateral damage as well if they crit. The amount of damage output this guy could have is insane. Like, there's nobody in the game who could do what he's doing. He can hit people so hard with that rush. He can wipe an entire team with 1 rush if you get the right weapon mods on it and you get the right combat mods. So we'll look at the combat mods I use on my Dwight, and it's pretty much what you should probably use on Konrad too. So these are the combat mods I use on my Dwight, and the main things you want to look at are the fact that I use crit chance because I want his rush to crit. I use attack because I want him to do more damage. I use anti-stun or stun resist because he can actually get stunned on his rush, so I want him to resist that if he can. Those are the 3 key parts of his build. The other parts, in terms of the auxiliary, you can use AP down, you can use graze, you can use pretty much whatever you want here. But however, there is one that actually gives you crit bonus in auxiliary, so if you can get your hands on that, great. In the attack or defense on trait. I use defense against fast just so he's got a little bit more survivability. I would probably use attack versus tough if I could, just so I can take down tough characters a bit better, like basically Hunter. I want to be able to take down Hunter as good as possible. It doesn't really matter too much on Konrad because he's got collateral, so you probably want defense on him against fast just so he's a bit more has a bit more survivability. But the most important three for Konrad were these three. Now, in terms of the set bonus that you want to go for, you only want to use 2 sets, and that's either attack set, which is the top one you can see there, and that gives between 200 and 650 attack. So if you have 5 gold mods, you'll get an extra 650 attack. Or you want to use the crit damage set, which gives between 16 and 50% crit damage. So every time he hits a crit, he'll do extra damage, and it'll just be insane. You might want to test it out a little bit, but I would definitely go with attack set or crit damage set for his mods. I would definitely go for crit bonus because obviously, even if he didn't have collateral damage, you want his rush to crit because it can go really high, the amount of damage output. But because collateral damage happens when he hits critical hits, you want him to get, you know, an extra 35, 40, or as high as possible crit that you can possibly get. And mods are the best way to do that. I wouldn't sacrifice percentage damage on his weapon because percentage damage is much more powerful than flat damage. So on my mod here, I get an extra 650 attack, which is the highest it can be. I got really lucky with my rolls. But with my weapon, I get an extra 40% attack. And 40% of Dwight's base damage is like, he's got 2,000, is an extra 800 damage. Just based on that 40%. Because it uses his base amount of damage, not the buffed with mods. If he gets buffed again, which Dwight obviously does because he gets it partway through his rush, he can buff himself. Or if you've got another character in your team that can buff him, they multiply with each other. So his damage can just get higher and higher and higher. So percentages, just as, if you didn't know already, percentages are the most powerful things in pretty much any game. Because they scale, they always scale. Flat rates never scale, they just always remain the same. Okay? So if you're going to sacrifice damage, you should sacrifice damage within his mods. I still wouldn't do that on Konrad, but you should always keep percentage gain on his weapon. You can also pretty much get more crit on his mods than you can on his weapon anyway. I think on his weapon, the best you can get is like maybe 40, where you can get up to 50 or 60 on a decent mod. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play him on the roadmap and just see what sort of damage output he can actually bring and see how powerful he is. So this is the team I'm going to take Konrad on, and basically he's going to get the bonus from Dwight in this. He doesn't have a good amount of crit base. His weapon has 15, he has no mods obviously, so he's not going to crit very often. I want to see what it's like with him critting fairly often. Dwight's lead skill is all tough teammates get 40% attack and 36 crit. So basically, that 40% attack and 36 crit, your Konrad, if you manage to get him, he'd get that damage, probably a little bit more than that from his mods and the upgrades to his weapon, and he'd get that crit as well with mods. So it's going to be roughly what he's going to get if you had him. He's not going to have as much AP gain though. He's not going to gain anywhere near as much AP as he would. It's going to be less, what, 8 to 10 less per attack. So, but we'll give it a go. What I'll do is I'll just edit in a couple of nice like crits and the potential what he can do, and I'll hopefully get a nice rush off as well. Okay, so this will be the first rush that I'm doing with him. I should have brought something to guarantee a crit. I don't think his crit chance is that high. It's like right now it's like 50, but he can crit still. So we'll see what sort of damage he can do here. He killed the guy up the top right as well. Okay. No collateral, no double attacks. So that was basically as worse as it could be. And he still did pretty good damage. He didn't get any double attacks, no collaterals, nothing like that. Okay, so potentially against this team, there's 4 reds here. If he crits here, he could potentially wipe this. Well, let's see. That's what I mean. The potential of his rush is really, really high. He killed one. He massively hurt this Mackenzie with the second part of it, but he got Lewis down to half HP, and Sandy's pretty much gone. So you can do a lot of damage with his rush, and that's what I was saying. Like, as long as you get his rush to actually happen, you should be gold. The rest of it is going to be cleanup, and you're going to do a lot of damage, basically. So you just saw another collateral, and that was one attack. The defense on these guys is actually reasonable, but it's not as high as it could be. Behind Erica's and stuff, it could be in the 2Ks. So they'd have a little bit more. They take a bit less damage. Their base HP, of course, isn't that high either because Hunter isn't a leader. Here's what I was talking about before. What you can do is you can do his active skill to gain 30% AP, and then you can command him to do his rush. His active skill gives himself crit, so it almost guarantees that the first part of his volley on his rush will crit. So what we'll do is we'll do that. We will do his active skill. And then you can see he gains his rush from gaining 30% AP, which was, he only needed a 16 remaining. He gains a 30 crit bonus. Then we're going to command him. And now he should crit. And it should deal quite a lot of damage here. There we go. So we kill 2 characters. We massively damage 1, and 2 are down by like 20 or 30% HP. I think obviously Tyrese would have lost more HP if he was a alert character, but because Lucas is an alert character, he's going to take trait damage. And then, like I said before, basically it's just going to be cleanup. Okay, we're on the last stage again, and what we'll do is we'll just command Konrad again just to do the same sort of deal. We'll use his active skill. Then we'll command him, and this is basically what you should be doing. Instead of doing an extra attack, you should probably do his active to get his rush. This is one of the best actives I've seen in terms of usability on an attack team. He'll get his rush. He's given himself some crit bonus. He's got a bigger potential to actually hit crits to get that collateral damage off. Now the defense on these aren't as high. It would have been better if Erica was here for good testing. But he's still going to do a lot of damage regardless of, you know, as long as you've got him kitted out well, high damage mods, high percentage damage on his weapons. So we'll just give it another roll. He'll probably kill 1 or 2 here. So he does kill 2. He only got 1 collateral spread, and it managed to get the governor down to half HP. If the governor had more defense, he'd probably be at 75%. So it's going to do trickles of damage. By this point, though, you would have already got a lot of these guys down a reasonable amount of HP anyway. So he's a good finisher, and he's going to eliminate 1 or 2 characters with that rush anyway. So I compared the roadmap. You got to see some little tests. I think the damage output that he can bring on an attack team is immense. I think on a defense team, he is going to be a bit of a target because you're not going to mod his weapon any differently, because you're going to want that for your attack team. He is not a defense team character. So if you think your defense team is your big problem, this isn't a character for you. If you want to upgrade your defense team, this isn't a character for you. If you want bigger output on your attack team, this is the guy. On a ranged attack team, he will do a lot of damage. He needs crit. He needs as much damage output as possible. He's going to be very glass cannon. He's going to potentially die before he can get his rush off. So you have to try and build a team that can protect him. He's going to be basically your king piece in your team. He'll be the difference between winning and losing a raid most of the time for you. You have to get that rush off if you have got him. But that was a little first look at this Konrad. I think he's very strong. If you get lucky, I've seen some people with lucky 1 pulls and got him in a 10 pull already. This is going to make a massive difference to your attack teams, and you're going to have a lot of fun with him. I think he's a character you can have a lot of fun with. He kind of reminds me, like I say, of Dwight. I have a lot of fun with Dwight. He's really good fun to play. And he's, like I say, he's pretty much my Konrad in that he is the one that wins raids for me almost single-handedly. If you watch my streams, you can see how good he is for me, and I've geared him out pretty much just to deal as much damage as possible. But that's in this video, guys. Tell me what you think of Konrad. Are you going to pull for him? Have you pulled for him? Have you got him? And you're going to make me jealous instantly. But that's in this video. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.